Welcome back. New this morning, Republicans are boosting campaign spending on key Senate races in GOP strongholds to help enforce a red wall and maintain the majority in Congress. Axios reporting conservative nonprofit One Nation is reserving $28 million in television advertising in Ohio, $11 million in Iowa. In Ohio, latest polling on the Senate race shows former Senator Sherrod Brown in a dead heat against incumbent John Huston. And in the Iowa Senate race, one poll shows Congresswoman Ashley Hinson 4 points behind Democrat Josh Turek. That's to replace Senator Joni Ernst. Joining me now is the chairman of the RNC, Joe Gruters. Joe, great to have you. Thanks so much for being here. I know Republicans are also turning their attention to Maine as Graham Plattner brings his campaign to a close, and they scramble to come up with a replacement by the deadline of July 27th. How would you assess the race today going into the midterm elections?
Well, listen, the civil war for the Democrats is on full display in Maine. Obviously, there's an internal fight there. Listen, 74% of the Maine Democrats voted for that guy to be their nominee. It shows you how out of touch the Democrats are, not only in Maine, but across this country.
Yeah, so do you feel that things have changed in the last couple of weeks with regard to the odds of the Republicans holding on to the majority? What are your thoughts going into the midterms right now?
I think we have an incredible opportunity to defy history in November. We have great candidates. We have the matchups because these Democrats are electing these radical leftists in their nominations. We're getting the matchups we want. If you look at Rogers in Michigan, Sununu potentially in New Hampshire, Collins in Maine, Henson, like I just saw, Moody. We have great candidates on our side. I fully expect our candidates to be in a position to win. We're going to be able to make sure we return MAGA warriors to D.C. to pass the president's agenda.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, you need candidates here. And when you look at the candidates on the other side, you've got a rise in socialist ideals. And that is splintering even the Democrat Party. Fox News polls from earlier this year show 55% of liberals believe it's a good thing to move away from capitalism and more towards socialism. That's 55% of Democrats. The Democrat Socialists of America reportedly planning to update their platform next week, where we're told they're expected to call for the elimination of the Senate and the replacing of the presidency and Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen by Congress. Joe, how is something like that going to fly? Or is this what you're expecting from the Democrat Socialists next week?
Well, this is what happens when you have Mondami, AOC, Bernie Sanders leading your party. They're going to continue to move further and further to the left. And, yeah, they're completely out of control. And that's what this November election is all about. It's about the craziness and these leftist radicals on the left versus reasonableness and common sense on the right. What happened is the Democrats lost their way. They lost the going to bat for the average American and the American worker when President Trump took over, and now they're trying to do whatever they can, and now they're beholden to these socialists and the socialist agenda. That's crazy. It's never going to fly here in America, and I think that the Democrats are in a death spiral.
Yeah, I know, but I just had a whole conversation about this with Senator Ashley Moody. And, you know, even though you're talking about crazy ideas and socialism ideas on the left, are the Republicans up for the job? Are the Republicans ready to do what perhaps needs to be done, which is beat the Democrats to removing the filibuster to get President Trump's agenda across the finish line? I don't know about that.
Yeah, listen, we're ready. We're going to make sure we have the MAGA warriors in place in November once this election cycle moves on. We have a lot of great candidates. You got to look at some of the holdouts in the Senate. We're replacing a lot of these guys on the right and replacing with super MAGA warriors. We're going to be there. We're going to win.
Right. I got you. And, of course, that was one of the reasons that President Trump backed Ken Paxton in Texas, you know. But look, Cheryl, here we are. Jump in here, Cheryl Cusoni. Here we are just celebrating America's great anniversary and birthday of 250 years where capitalism drove the day and enabled so much success for this great nation. And yet we got the Democrat Socialists next week ready to come out with their platform, which is towards socialism.
Well, and Maria, they're raising money. And I think that that's something that the Republican Party really needs to address and understand. You've got to fight fire with fire, and that's financial fire. Joe, one of the things I've been watching is, now you've got the DSA, they're emboldened and they're raising more money because of what happened here in New York City. You had a long-term incumbent in Colorado get ousted in a primary last week. I mean, this is really happening here. And what they're grabbing onto is that affordability message. What they're grabbing onto is we're going to help you and we're going to tax the rich and all that. Now, we know that these things don't work. But, Joe, the thing is, in particular, if you look at Wisconsin, the governor's race there, there is a Francesca Wong. I mean, there's a lot of support really building behind her. Again, a Democratic socialist candidate, and they're only getting stronger. How do you fight that financially? How do you get the message out there correctly so that there isn't problems in November for the Republican Party?
Well, listen, we have a mission. When the president asked me to serve as chairman, he said we have to win these midterms. That's the #1 goal. That's the only goal. We're going to win it. We're crushing them from a financial standpoint, what we're raising, because we know we have to win. That's why we're doing things so much differently this cycle. We know there's no other option. We saw what happens when the Democrats get control, like the shutdown. They're going to have investigations. They're going to obstruct. They're going to impeach. It's going to be total chaos. They don't want to move the country forward. Trump derangement syndrome is real. America derangement syndrome is real. We have to win. And so we need everybody to go to GOP.com and give us your time and treasure. We have to move this country forward. We have to elect these MAGA warriors across the country to defeat these socialists that are being elected on the left. We could do it, but we need everybody's help.
Well, look, the RNC holding its first ever convention for the midterms. You've got your first ever midterm convention in Dallas this September ahead of the November elections. You say it's going to be, quote, a Trump-a-palooza, and that Republicans will knock it out of the park this November. Tell us what you're expecting at this convention. What shall we expect?
Well, listen, I'm so excited to have this first ever convention. The president, this was his idea. He deserves credit because in order to defy history, only 4 times in the last 150 years has the incumbent party been able to hold on to the majorities. We're going to do it this time by doing things differently. It starts with this midterm convention. We could highlight all the amazing things this president has done, all the issues, and obviously he's the best showman that's ever existed in politics in the Republican Party, and we're going to put him front and center. We'll be able to show the contrast between reasonableness and common sense and creating a path so every American could go out there and achieve the American dream versus what the left is offering and these socialist policies that will literally destroy America from within.
Well, I think there's also an opportunity here to talk about what will happen to the president's agenda should the Democrats gain a foothold and the majority in Congress, Joe. And I don't know if that's part of your plan, but we need to hear your message in terms of what's most important to the Republicans. What have you gotten done and what could be at stake come November?
Well, you said it right, even with Senator Moody before. We need to have MAGA warriors in place to move the president's agenda. We need to pass the Save America Act. We need to push the president's agenda by electing these MAGA warriors. If we don't, the president's agenda is over. We'll spend 2 years fighting with the Democrats. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to win. We have to win. All attention is on us. It's going to start with this midterm convention. I'm so thankful to have the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, leading our party and making sure that we're in a position to not only save the country, but the world.
All right. We'll be watching, Joe. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks so much.
Joe Gruters joining us this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back.